Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, November 30th, 2018.
Commissioner Garcia, Cabello, James, Davis, and Jacinto are present. President James, we do have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Shirley Lau, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Chimeng Gong for the Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Eddie Chavez, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Shufan Wei with Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, John Olinger, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment. We also do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. No speaker cards on any of the items for today's agenda.
Okay, we'll close general public comment as well as the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Agenda item number 7 is the addition of a funding source, task order solicitation number SN53, recommending that the board authorize the addition of the General Fund, Fund 100, Department 54 Capital Improvement Expense Program to the existing funding sources for TOS SN53, which we see fairly frequently. And secondly, authorize the Director of Sanitation or his designee with the assistance of the Director of Accounting or her designee to modify the funding sources for TOS SN53 as appropriate. Mr. Vasquez.
Hi, good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau representatives, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. My name is Alex Vasquez with the Bureau of Sanitation. And again, I'm requesting to add this funding source to the TOS SN53, which is operated by Corollo Engineers. The reason for this is that originally the TOS was funded by 3 different funding sources. That's a Stormwater Pollution Abatement Fund, the Sewer Fund, and the Solids Fund. That's to support all 3 programs. But this is a project that is funded by the General Fund. So we're asking the General Fund be also included under this TOS so we can pay the consultant for this work.
Okay, thank you. Any questions at all on this? Commissioner Cabello.
Just a quick question. How much from the general fund?
Well, I think this I have to look exactly what we're paying the consultant, but this project has received approximately so far about $8 million. It will be like a $20 million project. We got funded the last 3 fiscal years.
No, understood. I just was wondering what this particular general fund ask was.
Well, it's for any general funded project. We have a bunch of them, and right now they only work on the Bayona Creek. In the future, they might work in other projects, so we want to cover that so I don't have to come back every time I ask for additional input.
Commissioner Garcia.
What is the scope of this work? I'm seeing that we are sole sourcing to Corollo Engineers. I just want to know a brief description of the scope.
Well, it's not really a sole source. We have a TOS with Corollo Engineers. The TOS was to support the executive management, so they work in all kinds of projects across, I'd say, all different programs, solid programs, the Glendale Plan, all different type of projects. So they did some work for the Bayona Creek. Most of the work was related to the EIR and the public outreach, and they did some minor work on value engineering for the project, for this specific project, yes. Okay.
Any further questions? Commissioner Davis.
In terms of the ask, you said that there are basically three primary programs impacted by this motion before us?
No. There's no impact to the contract. There's no impact to the other funds. It's just another funding source to be able to pay the contractor. So right now we're using 3 different funding sources to pay the contractor depending on what they're working on. So if they work on a solids program, we use a solid fund. If we use a sewer program. So this is a project that was funded by the general fund.
Okay.
So we had to use general fund money to pay him, but it was not included in the original request for this TOS.
So the general fund is the source of funding for the project.
But
yet you're asking for permission to include possibly other funds as well. Is that correct?
No, just the general fund at this point. We already have the other 3 funds that we need for this project. I don't foresee any other fund paying for any other project.
So it's the general fund for this particular project?
Yes.
there are not multiple projects involved in this ask?
Well, the ask is for use the general fund as a funding source.
Sure.
So if there are other projects that the general fund, and I have a list here that they have funded already, they have provided funding, if the Carollo works on those projects, we'll be able to use the general fund to pay them.
And then how will we assess specifically how many dollars we will use out of the general fund for?
Well, this is usually tracked by the CEO, which is the one who gave us the funding from the general fund. So we'll consult with them. Anytime we spend money for any project with the general fund, we go through the CEO to say, this is what we're using the fund you gave us for.
Okay.
Let me see if I can, there seems to be some confusion.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can throw out some commentary and see if I'm right, okay?
Okay.
So you have a number of funds that pay for this project, 3 of them right now.
Right.
And you describe SCM and 1 or 2
The solids
others.
and the stormwater, yes.
And you want to add the general fund as one of the funding sources.
Right.
So when you do, we'll be at 4 funding sources.
4 funding sources.
Okay.
yes.
I think at least one of my colleagues' questions is, out of the cost for the project,
Yes.
do you have a sense, even if it's an estimate or a guess, of what portion of these 4 funding sources, how much money is going to come out of the general fund?
Correct.
For
Well, it will be just for a specific project, and it will be on a project-by-project basis. And for this contract itself, it will be very minor, because again, it will be some assistance with EIR, some value engineering, so we're talking 100,000 to 100,000. The bulk of the money for this project, funded by general fund, will go to construction. We're already funding the design of these projects through Stormwater Pollution Abatement Fund. So when they go to construction, most of the money that have been provided from the general fund will be spent. So this is for minor work that we're doing related to the project.
And so how much is minor? How much is minor?
Maybe 100,000 to 100,000 out of $20 million project.
Okay, so that you're requesting approximately $100,000 as it relates to this motion out of the general fund.
No, the general fund has already given us the money to use.
Okay.
It's just that we cannot use it only this is a funding source for this specific task.
How much money did they give you?
Well, let me go at some projects. For this project, Bayona, 16-17, they gave us $1.2 million. 17-18, $530,000.
Okay,
18-19, $6.3 million.
that's what I was asking.
And it's a $20 million price, so next year we'll get some more funding.
Sure.
When we go to construction in about 2020, we'll get the rest of it.
Right, and you're asking for our confirmation of the receipt of those funds you just discussed, correct?
No, all we're asking is that we're able to use those funds to pay for this task for some minor work the consultant did for us. And again, minor, I mean $100,000 type of amount. We cannot pay it because it's not a funding source for the contract, so accounting will reject it, the controller will reject it, say it's not a funding source. That's all it is. And I have done this previously for the Cisco contracts at Hyperion. They were designed to do sewer work, but now they have done some minor work for this specific project. Stormwater works, we cannot pay with SCM funds, stormwater work, so we had to add our Stormwater Pollution Abatement Fund and the general fund in order to pay those minor work that they do at Hyperion for these other projects. Same thing.
Mr. President.
So let me summarize again, just a minute. Let me summarize again if I could. So for Carollo Engineers, they're doing some consultant work for us.
Right.
And this highly specialized consultant support, which is described in here, you estimate will be $100,000 to $200,000.
Yes.
Okay? And you would like to be able to tap the general fund as a funding source to pay for that service.
Right. Right.
Got that? Okay. Okay. Dr. Campos?
Yes, Mr. President, one of the things that I was going to suggest, if it's not time sensitive, this board could ask the the Bureau of Sanitation to return back with a simple table just to have a mix of what the funds would look like for the $14 million. I'm going back to the original board report that was adopted back in May of 2017. That board report did include about 25, 30 sub-consultants that Corolla is using through the $14 million. In addition to that, it provided the 3 or 4 funding sources that Mr. Vasquez is mentioning. What I'm hearing from the Bureau is that they just want to add the general fund, the CIEP money that's already pre-adopted or adopted by the City Council. So there is a limit there in terms of the general fund. But I think a quick one-page or half-a-page table just indicating what the mixture of that $14 million would look like in terms of what has been spent to date, what it's going to look like in the future.
We can do that, though, in an
We can,
oral...
but this doesn't change anything about the contract, or any limits on the contract, any time on the
Understood.
contract.
We can do that with an oral report.
Okay.
What I would like to do today is approve your ability to use the general fund.
There's some urgency to pay the contractor.
One moment.
Sorry.
I would like to be able to approve your request to use the general fund to make the payment for the $100,000 to $200,000 to Corolla that you've requested.
Sure.
Okay, fair enough?
Yes.
Okay, and then we will get, you have another question?
No, it's not a question, but I'll go at the end.
Okay. And then afterwards, you can agendize the larger project for an oral report soon so that it hasn't escaped our minds as, a month from now, we're going to be like, what? While this is a little more fresh on us, kind of just a summary of the costs divided up by the 4 funds now.
Okay.
Okay? Yes.
You're talking about for the whole cost, for the whole
Okay, we'll
contract?
start with Commissioner Garcia, then we'll go to Commissioner Cabello.
I just want to make a recommendation in the future. Can you add a board report with transmittals? Because just a motion doesn't give us enough explanation. And I think that's why we're all having a confusion here, or it's not self-explanatory here. If you can just make it a little more cumbersome when you present this to us. Thank you.
Yeah, originally I did a motion because I thought it would be quick. We had to pay the contractor. He's waiting to get paid.
Sure, but we also need background information.
It took almost longer than the board report to get the motion here. So yes, we can prepare a board report next time if you like. Yes.
Commissioner Cabello.
Thank you, President James. I think another thing to keep in mind, I understand the need to expedite payment to our contractors. What I'd like the bureaus to have in the back of their mind is when they are submitting information for our approval or our background, it is important, though, to keep in mind the public transparency needed. And if you're a new person coming to the Board of Public Works and you want to know what an item is about, and you can't make the assumption that these folks have known about this project. So it's something to keep in the back of the mind. My original question, and what I'd like to see in the oral report in the future, would be what is the total, what has been allocated in the general fund for this project? Not necessarily, I'm fine with this, we'll approve it, but if you can keep that as a report back on what is the total general fund impact, or what has been allocated from the general fund, understanding that the CAO has already given that.
As of right now, about $8 million.
Great.
Yeah, so like I said,
But
every
let's
year
see.
we get a little more in the pot, depends. Really, we haven't used most of it because most of it will be used when it goes to construction. But my assumption is that the general fund doesn't want to have to put 20 million at one time. They'd rather break it up by fiscal year.
That would be great for the oral report.
So when we
Thank
get
you.
to the construction part, the money is already waiting there for the project.
Okay. Thank you. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 7. Is there a second by Commissioner Davis? Thank you. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 7.
Right. Thank you, and I'll work with him for the oral report.
Yes, I would like to maybe do it a week from today. Do we have an oral report, do you think, Dr. Campos, in the queue for a week from today?
Let me check my calendar and I'll let you know in a few minutes.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just work with Mr. Vasquez if he's available, or whoever the Bureau wants to designate for the oral report. But at least if we can do it a week from today, we're fairly fresh off of this discussion.
We can definitely add it to the agenda for Friday, December 7th.
Yeah, unless we have like 3 oral reports, and then maybe we push it.
Typically, we only have one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right. And just to make sure the oral report is going to be on the TOS itself, not in necessarily just this item, or
What?
the oral report will be on the TOS SM53 overall, or just on this item?
Oh, no, just the SM53.
Yeah, just on that toss, yes.
Right.
Okay.
Dr. Campos, are you clear on what we're asking for with
Yes.
for the oral report?
I'll work with the
Okay, so
Bureau.
he'll work
Okay,
with you
we'll
offline
talk
on
later
that,
then.
Mr.
All
Vasquez.
right. Thank
Okay? Thank you. Agenda item number 1, task order solicitation number SN 91, Phase 2 of the structural condition assessment of the North Outfall Sewer, Council Districts 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 14. Recommending that the board authorize the Director of the Bureau of Sanitation or his designee to issue 3 notices of award for task order solicitation SN 91 to the following 3 consultants on the on-call consultant list and approve a total budget of $3 million, including a 5.3 contingency that is split among them as follows. There are 3 of them, A, B, and C. A, toss SN 91A to Brown and Caldwell. Provide closed-circuit television, laser profiling, and sonar inspection services for an amount not to exceed $1,120,000. All 3 of these include a 5% contingency amount. If you add them up, it's 15%. Secondly, toss SN 91B, CDM Smith Incorporated. Provide CCTV, laser profiling, and sonar inspection services for an amount not to exceed $1,480,000. This also includes the contingency amount. And at toss SN 91C, HDR Engineering. Provide engineering assessment and quality assurance, quality control of sewer information for an amount not to exceed $400,000. This also includes the contingency amount. Secondly, approve the term of engagement of this task order until July 22nd, 2019, so that's less than a year. Third, authorize the Director of Sanitation or his designee to extend the task order to July 2021, that's 2 additional years, contingent upon approval by the board of the renewal of the parent on-call contracts as authorized by file 130949S1. Good morning, Ms. Vong.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. My name is Rahija Vong, representing the Bureau of Sanitation Wastewater Engineering Services Division, and I'm here to request the board for the authorization to issue 3 notice of awards for task order solicitation SN 91 to the following 3 consultants. Brown and Caldwell in the amount of $1,120,000, CDM Smith in the amount of $1,480,000, as well as HDR Engineering in the amount of $400,000. The total combined budget for TOS SN 91 is $3 million, and that includes a 5.3% contingency. Just a brief background, this is for Phase 2 of the structural condition assessment of the North Outfall Sewer. Phase 1 was handled under TOS SN 71, where we did a structural condition assessment of 59 miles of the North Outfall Sewer. So Phase 2 will encompass 200 miles of not only the trunk lines such as the North Outfall Sewer, but we're also covering primary sewers, which are large diameter sewers, anything greater than 16 inches in diameter. The reason that we are requesting a separate TOS to perform these inspections is that this is for specialized services as well as specialized inspections, which in addition to our standard closed-circuit television inspections, we're requesting laser profiling as well as sonar for these pipes. The pipes under this inventory are difficult to access, which is why we need a separate TOS for that. The city, as well as the consultants, Brown and Caldwell, CDM Smith, and HDR, performed a good faith effort to reach out to the qualified sub-consultants in order to fulfill the city's participation levels. Overall, for TOS SN 71, the percentages for MBE is 0.9%, WBE 17.9%, SBE 15.2%, EBE 14.4%, DVBE nothing, and OBE 56.9%. So overall, we did not meet the levels for MBE, SBE, and DVBE, and this is largely due to lack of responses and the inability of the sub-consultants to meet the scope of services in this TOS, because this TOS does involve special equipment and expertise. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions at this time. Thank you.
You have it? Commissioner Cabello?
Just a quick question. Can you please go over again why it's a separate toss?
This is a separate toss because these sewers are larger diameter sewers and they're difficult to access. Most of the CCTV inspections that we use are more for the smaller sewers, the secondary sewers. And so this particular one, we're issuing out to 3 different primes because we need help. If you'll notice, it is an aggressive schedule. It's July 2019. The results that we get from these inspections are incorporated into our reports, and we're trying to identify the needs of the city so we can trigger any sewer projects needed throughout the city.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacinto?
Thank you, President James. Thank you, Ms. Wong. I'm going to ask the city attorney, please, for his opinion on, I understand as a follow-up question that it is specialized, it's time-bound, but I'm going to kind of want to avoid us saying, well, we need to do it now when we know this is a big closed-circuit TV monitoring is very, very important. It drives our emergency sewer, secondary, it'll drive all that scope of work. But just the fact that it's a toss and not a regular RFP, Mr. Jordan?
Well, we have these pre-qualified contracts in place with very well-qualified firms. So I think the use of a task order going to our pre-qualified list for this work is appropriate. So I concur with the Bureau's recommendation.
Thank you for that, Mr. Jordan, too, and for that validation and verification. And we understand that out of this scope of work, $3 million over the course of 1 year plus another extension, right? There's an extension that we're going to allow the Bureau head to be able to do. Do we know how long that will be for?
For the
that
overall
extension?
contract, we are hoping to get the inspection records by June
So we're going to do a lot of work.
2019. A lot of work.
We're going to do a lot of work.
Yes.
And that lot of work is going to drive us in a lot of our repairs and construction and the work of the Bureau of Engineering as well in the future. So I think that we're going to see a lot of action in our sewer repair program as we move forward with this too. So just wanted to preview that, but thank you. I understand. Thank you.
Okay, and I would just confirm, Ms. Vong, the on-call list or the consulting services as-needed basis list, there are lots of names for lists. They're all very long. There are 25 consulting firms on that list, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Anything further? Commissioner Davis?
We have, this is Brown and Caldwell, right?
Yes.
Okay, and they had an initial pledge of 9.5 minority business enterprises, right? Is that right?
For Brown and Caldwell, their pledge amount is $353,000. I'm sorry. What was your question?
MBE.
MBE.
What was the pledge for MBE?
For Brown and Caldwell, MBE, we don't have them for MBE.
We
The
have,
subconsultants that we have for Brown and Caldwell are WBE and OBE only.
okay. I thought that under page, let's see, 4, that they pledged,
But it's
not-
WBE.
oh, I thought this was, oh, I see, gotcha,
Oh, no, I'm looking here, though.
okay.
You're saying 9.5%.
Pledge, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
You-
It says you've got, go ahead, you ask a question. It's your question.
Yeah, well, no, I read on page 4, if I was correct in my reading, that we had pledged 9.5% MBE when we started this project. Is that correct, or is that not?
That is
accurate?
correct for that consultant firm, 9.5% with $100,800. But overall, for TOS SN 91, with the total combined budget of $3 million, we come up to 0.9% only for MBE.
Okay, so we weren't able to realize
WB.
our pledge, basically.
Yes.
Okay, well,
I would note, though, interestingly enough, there is roadway construction service listed as M. Male SAA, Subcontinent Asian American, under a WBE-owned business for 9.5%. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, that's accurate as far as you know?
Yes. Their certification levels, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I would have to confirm
I know.
with.
But either, it appears we have either 9.5%, which is either an MBE or a WBE, depending on the documents.
Yes.
So we've got one or the other.
It's a WBE.
Well, it says that, but if you look here, it says male. There's an M.
Oh, I see.
So we've got one or the other, but we've got either minority or women-owned business participation, correct?
Was it a woman or was it a male?
Well, it says M there. We're not sure.
Well, they counted it as a
I
woman.
believe
I
it
would
wasn't
think it was a
recognized by
woman.
the city. They have certifications from an authority in Northern California, but as an MBE, they are not officially recognized by the city yet.
Now, where does the WBE designation come in as it relates to that particular item that we're discussing here? We have MSAA, and then we have, under categories, we have it as a WBE. So, please give me some discussion about that.
From my understanding, they just haven't completed their paperwork to get that certification with the city of LA.
For the WBE designation?
For the MBE designation.
Okay.
So even though
But
they
are,
have,
but is there a WBE designation given
yes,
to them?
that
They
is
are a women
recognized by the
business
city of LA.
enterprise.
Yes,
That's what
correct.
I was trying to confirm. Okay. Okay, so it is a WBE.
Okay, got it.
As
got
we
it squared.
understand it,
Yeah.
as we
Okay,
understand
so it is W. Okay, so we got that. Great. Okay. Thank you.
All right, that's it.
Anything
Thank you.
further? Thank you, Ms. Vong. I'll make the motion that we adopt agenda item number 1, seconded by Commissioners Cabello and Commissioner Davis. Any issue sending number 1 forthwith? Number 2, that was number 1. I have a 2 sticker on there. I figured that out, though. That was number 1. We'll send number 1 forthwith. Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Agenda item number 2, Bureau of Street Lighting. Public Works Trust Fund Loan Amendment Street Lighting Projects, recommending that the board first amend the attached August 9th, 2017 Board of Public Works report that requested 5 loans from the Public Works Trust Fund to the Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment Fund. The subject board report is requesting to amend the project titles of the 5 loans. Forward the amended report to the Los Angeles City Council, requesting to first, 1.2, authorize 5 loans from the Public Works Trust Fund, that's Fund 834, totaling $6,875,000, payable to the Street Maintenance Assessment Fund, Fund 347, to fund the design and construction of street lighting projects to be repaid as federal grant proceeds are received from the California Department of Transportation and Los Angeles County Metro Transit Authority on a cost reimbursement basis. So we're basically front funding these things, which is one of the reasons for the Public Works Trust Fund. The individual loan amounts requested are estimates and are subject to change based on the final bid amounts. Nevertheless, the overall cost of the 5 loans shall not exceed $6,875,000 through the subject board report. And 1.3, authorize that grant reimbursements from the state and MTA be deposited into the Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment Fund and subsequently transferred back to the Public Works Trust Fund no later than 1 week after the deposit has been made. Mr. Nguyen.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representative, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. I'm Vince Nguyen with the Bureau of Street Lighting. On August 9th, 2017, your board approved the Bureau request for 5 loans from the Public Works Trust Fund in the amount of $6,875,000 to front fund the construction of 5 street lighting projects, which qualify for federal reimbursement. Subsequently, the Bureau was able to obtain SB1 funding for one of the 5 projects, specifically the Lower Grand Tunnel Lighting Improvement Project. Therefore, in this report, the Bureau would like to request for your board approval to replace the Lower Grand Tunnel Lighting Improvement Project with a new street lighting project titled Main Street Lighting Improvement Unit 1, which also qualify for federal reimbursement. This project substitution will not change the original loan amount, and these 5 loans will be repaid as federal grant proceeds are received from Caltrans and LA MTA on a cost reimbursement basis for these projects. Thank you.
Any questions on this? Commissioner Cabello has, can I ask just a quick question? Dr. Campos, with your management of the Public Works Trust Fund, is this just a labeling update?
All we're doing is just changing the title of one of the projects, so we're just swapping it out. The report could have been a little bit more simpler, just to make the change of the project name, but that's basically what the Bureau of Street Lighting is requesting. So no change in the funding, no change in the project, the ceiling of the loan amount, so I don't have any issues with that.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for, yeah. It's one of those days where we're working on that sweet spot. The motion by, thank you all, motion by Commissioner Cabello, seconded by Commissioner Garcia. Thank you, Mr. Nguyen.
Thank you.
Any objection? With that objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Any issues sending number 2 forthwith? We'll send number 2 forthwith. Well, we'll see how we do with number 3. Street closure, CD 14. Oh, one moment before we start with number 3.
Oh, no. Oh, it's off to a rough start already.
Street closure, Mission Road. Recommending that the board authorize a full closure of Mission Road underneath and adjacent to the 6th Street Viaduct between 6th Street and Jesse Street for up to 5 months for underground utility relocation activities and viaduct construction associated with the 6th Street Viaduct replacement project. Do we have anybody here for that this morning, Dr. Campos? Oh, Shay, there you are. How are you,
See,
sir?
there's a little intimidation factor there already. Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Executives, Mr. Jordan, Dr. Campos. Shay Dong with the 6th Street Division. We are here asking for the authority to close a short stretch of Mission Road just between 6th and Jesse for up to 5 months to help facilitate the undergrounding of some high voltage power lines, DWP power lines, between Mission on the east and Santa Fe on the west. The reason we are asking for this closure now is because the undergrounding of the power lines was supposed to be complete before we issued task order number 5. The power lines were supposed to be done under task order D, and the reason why task order 5 got task order D was delayed was because we took a lot longer than we had anticipated to secure all the construction and maintenance agreements and the right of entry permits with the 5 different railroad agencies. And this closure is crucial to the project because it will enhance public safety, it will minimize impacts to the community and local businesses, and prevent further delays to the schedule. I want you to keep in mind that the undergrounding is taking place in between bends 7 and 8, where these massive false works are currently already installed. So there's a lot of congested activities going on there. And we are ready for the closure. We have full support from CD14. Bureau of Street Services has no objection to the closure. We sent out the construction notices on the morning of the 27th, just this past Tuesday. And LADOT has approved both the traffic control and the detour plans yesterday afternoon. That completes my report.
Okay. Mr. Dong, before we go to a couple of questions and just some confirmations that I'll make on the record, I will note that we have Richard Lee, who used to work with us for a number of years in the Department of Public Works. Mr. Lee, how are you? I'm great. You have students from Gardena Elementary School today? And hey, everybody. Future visitors, future leaders visiting City Hall, welcome. And are there a few teachers as well? Great. Well, welcome to City Hall. How many of you is your first time to City Hall? Great. It's an amazing place, isn't it? So this, we're the Department of Public Works, and we oversee, well, the city's infrastructure, which for you means the sidewalks that you walk on and the streets that you ride on and the trash that gets picked up in your communities, and city buildings like this one that we're in, this beautiful room. See the city seal up in the ceiling? This room also is one of the most filmed rooms in the city. It's been in lots of televisions and movies, although television shows and movies, although they make it look a lot different, so you don't necessarily know that you're in this room. This room has been the Supreme Court of the United States before. It's been a part of the White House before. It's been a church before, so a lot of different things. And who? So, and have you already, you want to talk to him? No. Okay. And have you already been to the city council chambers, Richard? Oh, great. Well, so we'll continue with our item. I'll let them know briefly what we're doing. So this is one of our representatives from the Bureau of Engineering who is briefing us this morning on a requested road closure because of work that needs to be done to repair what was a sewer break that occurred. Mr. Dunn, when did that occur?
Not a sewer break, undergrounding. Undergrounding of high voltage
Oh,
power
okay.
lines. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, see what I missed already. So he's requesting that we close the street, which you obviously notice if you're trying to leave your home and go somewhere and the street is closed, chances are they had to come here to get permission to close the street. So we'll continue with that discussion live as is, okay? Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Richard, for bringing the kids over. Mr. Dunn, go ahead. So we were, the Council District 14 has confirmed this, correct?
Correct.
Approved of it.
That is correct.
One of the things that Nate Hayward's email requested was that the engineering notify the adjacent property owners and parties and stakeholders, and also to let the contractor know that they may be getting some calls of inquiry. Has that happened?
The contractor has a public relations team that is doing all this.
Okay. Commissioner Cinto?
Thank you, President James. Shay, thank you for this.
You're welcome.
It's important, obviously, that we get the undergrounding right next to the viaduct. And the closure itself is pretty clear. It's just like a U shape. So we shouldn't have any problems on the detour, correct? And
That is correct. We don't anticipate any issues with this closure.
We will have variable message signing on that at all times, especially during the
Correct.
evenings. It does say that the closure, we're requesting up to 5.
Up to 5.
But there's a possibility that the work could be done in 4 months.
It's a possibility, but we're anticipating up to 5. In the notices that went out, we said up through the end of April.
This is end of March, in terms of the...
We updated it.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, that's when at the time of this board report, we thought that we were going to start in November, but it's been pushed back to sometime in December. So we're asking for the closure from December through the end of April.
Okay.
December 10th? What?
The anticipated start is sometime in mid-December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so I understand that, and as long as everything's in place and City 14 is concurring, so I'm good with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
The detour plan, the traffic management plan, is that all approved?
That was approved yesterday afternoon by LADOT.
Great, got it done before the board hearing this morning. Okay, so we don't have to.
Sir.
We don't need to make that conditional.
No.
Okay.
No, it's set.
And just by way of memory, is this Mission Road that's close to 6th Street? The 6th Street Viaduct. That's where we had the sewer leak.
There is a emergency sewer repair.
Yeah.
So you were probably thinking about that.
That's why I was
Yes,
confusing
yes.
that.
There is,
Okay.
yes.
But this is for the
This is for
underground
the-
utility relocation?
Correct. That is
Got it.
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Is the sewer repair, we're able to coordinate our underground utility location with the work that's being done on the sewer repair?
Yes, this 5-month closure is actually in 2 phases. Phase 1, the closure during phase 1 will accommodate the work that's going on at that sewer repair. And as that's wrapping up, we'll move into phase 2, which is about 3 months.
Okay.
Yes.
My only request would be that we recall all the 5th grade students from Gardena Elementary to let them know that I was not completely out to lunch. Just kidding. Is there, Commissioner Garcia?
I have most of the other questions I had were answered, but I do have, has there been an attempt to make sure that the neighborhood councils are aware of this? Because this is a 5-month closure, and they should be able to be helpful in deploying this information back to the community.
Well,
And if it hasn't, can I just make a request that
yeah,
reach
no,
out to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment?
We have not reached out to all the different neighborhood councils, but if we can do that before we implement the
I
closure.
think it's only one for that area.
Yeah. Then,
I'll double check and look
Just
into
the one.
it.
Yeah.
Okay,
thank you. Thank you for that.
welcome.
And also, my other question, will any businesses be affected during this closure?
There are a few businesses adjacent to the Mission Road, but we have reached out to them. They are aware of this closure.
Have they expressed any concern?
We show them the traffic control plans and how it will not be impacting their businesses.
They will not be impacted then?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacinto has made a motion, seconded by Commissioners Davis and Garcia, and demonstrating true sportsmanship. I, too, will join in seconding Mr. Dung's motion, for his event, even though he went to the University of Texas. And it is a big weekend. With that, any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. We'll even send it forthwith, even though you came today, the day before the game. Without objection, we'll send agenda number 3 forthwith. And may you have a nice weekend up until 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Thank you, President James. I just wanted to add, hook 'em horns.
I figured I would hear that, yes. He said hook 'em horns. And just a bit of advice I always tell my friends that are opponents of the Oklahoma Sooners on a game day. Be sure and watch the game on time. I usually tell people to be sure and be on time because you want to be there while your team is still in it. All right. With that, is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Wednesday, October 31, 2018? Seconded by Commissioner Cabello. Any issue, any objection to that? Then we'll adopt those or approve those meeting minutes. Agenda item number 4, Council District 13, sole source procurement, Los Angeles Glendale Water Reclamation Plant, dechlorination chamber improvements, and the LA Glendale Water Reclamation Plant sodium bisulfite facility improvements, recommending that the board first authorize the city engineer to sole source the selection of 4 chlorine analyzers for an amount not to exceed $50,000. Secondly, authorize the city engineer to negotiate a price agreement with Evoqua, I think I pronounced it right, Water Technologies for the above referenced chlorine analyzers, which will be procured by the city of Los Angeles and installed by the general contractor awarded the construction project. Third, authorize the city engineer to sole source the selection of 2 programmable logic controllers for an amount not to exceed $120,000. I didn't know that logic controllers were procurable. And fourth, authorize the city engineer to negotiate a price agreement with the Rockwell Automation for the above reference programmable logic controllers, which will be procured by the city and installed by the general contractor awarded the construction project. Fifth, authorize the city engineer to sole source the selection of 8 solenoid valves for an amount not to exceed $2,000. And sixth, authorize the city engineer to negotiate a price agreement with ASCO Valve Incorporated for the above referenced solenoid valves, which will be procured by the city and installed by the general contractor awarded the construction contract. There's an amendment that Dr. Campos has included changing the work order number. The last one, I'll just read the two of them. SZL 11199 is accurate. The second one should be SZL 11232. Ms. Lee.
Good morning, Board of Public Works and Bureau executives. My name is Crystal Lee, Project Manager with Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Engineering Division. I'm here to represent the Joint Board Report for the request to sole source for Los Angeles Glendale Water Reclamation Plant. I'm requesting for two projects, CIP 4178, the dechlorination chamber improvements, and CIP 4179, the sodium bisulfate facility improvements. As President James had mentioned, I am asking for the authorization of sole source, really three items for CIP 4178 dechlorination chamber, and just one item for the 4179 sodium bisulfate facility. For 4178 dechlorination chamber, I'm requesting to sole source the analyzers, the PLC, and the solenoid valves. And for the 4179 sodium bisulfate facility, just the PLCs. So we are requesting not to exceed $50,000 for the request for the chlorine analyzers and to negotiate that price with Evoqua. For 4178 and 4179, which are both projects, they will both require a PLC, one PLC each, not to exceed $120,000, and negotiate that price with Rockwell Automation. And the third item, 8 solenoid valves, they're relatively cheap in price each, not to exceed $2,000, and to negotiate that price with ASCO Red Hat. So just a brief background on why these are required. We have two projects going forward. One is the wooden baffles are being replaced under Project 4178, the dechlorination chambers, and the bisulfite tanks themselves will be replaced along with the associated piping and valves for 4179 bisulfate tanks. So in the processes for LAG, we have treated the wastewater plant. Now we bring it through all the processes. We are almost at the final stages of these processes, and we chlorinate the wastewater. After we chlorinate, we need to remove the chlorinization, and we call it dechlorinization in a process where we have to actually have the baffles hold the water for a certain number of time. The bisulfate tanks will release a chemical from the tanks into the chambers, and in those baffle areas, they mix in the dechlor chambers. From there, then, the NPDS, which is the National Pollutant of Discharge Elimination System, will permit us to only have a certain amount of chlorine going out, because then it gets dumped into the LA River. So we do need some very reliable equipment to make sure that we're testing and verifying that we're under the permitted limit of chlorinization or chlorine going into the LA River. And these requested sole source items will help us achieve that. So the chlorine analyzers themselves actually sample and test those limits. The PLCs are the logic controllers that allow the system to talk between we have a combination of software between both the tanks, the home-based system, and the analyzers themselves, and they can even stop and make sure that we aren't dumping anything that's above the allowable limits into the LA River. So it does allow us to have some control of the system at that time. The valves themselves also allow us to control the flow of the wastewater and the flow of the treated water throughout the system, especially in the dechlorination chamber area. So if you go to the figures that we are showing, we show you the dechlorination chambers themselves in Figure 1 and the sodium bisulfate tanks in Figure 2, just so you have an idea of what they look like. They're very large. We are actually replacing them with a larger volume because we do expect that the entire area will probably expand and more water will need to be treated, so obviously more material will need to be held at those locations.
Like air conditioning unit.
Right, exactly. And to justify the request for the sole source for the chlorine analyzers, The specific ones that we are requesting by Evoqua have demonstrated that they are efficient and provide trouble-free operation. Our plant staff is already trained and equipped to operate and replace and maintain this equipment. Additionally, we have spare parts on hand that match this existing system. Also, we are replacing them in the same physical location that the current ones exist, so these match exactly as far as size and compatibility. So it would reduce training and operational costs by being able to sole source these items. The programmable logic controllers by Rockwell Automation have also proved to be very reliable. The Allen Bradley PLCs are the direction that most of the sanitation plants are going for the field-located operated PLCs, and they are compatible with the existing software system, so minimal compatibility configuration will need to be done. Also, the existing technical support contract with Allen Bradley is currently in place, so we won't need to be replacing anything as far as ongoing maintenance with the new PLCs. The solenoid valves themselves, additionally, are consistent with the existing solenoid valves that we have. They've proven to be very consistent in their competency and fluid operation, so we trust that they will also be functional as we have the spare parts for those, and they will match in the existing system, so we have something pretty consistent throughout our entire piping system. We're not requesting any funds at this time, just the request to sole source this, so no effect to the general fund.
Okay. We always have the oral record confirm the board report on, through our city attorney, on the sole source justification. Mr. Jordan, you're okay with the sole source justification?
Absolutely, I concur. This is the recommendation from the directors of both Bureau of Sanitation and Bureau of Engineering. These are mission-critical components for these reclamation plants. They discharge into federally regulated waters, so I concur with the recommendations.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the explanation, Ms. Lee, as well. Any questions? Commissioner Santos made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4, seconded by Commissioner Garcia and Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Have a nice weekend, Ms. Lee. Thank you. Agenda item number 5, contract renewal, Terminal Island Renewable Energy Project. Recommending that the board exercise 2 one-year extension options in amendment number 3 to the contract between the City of Los Angeles and Geo-Environment Technologies, LLC, formerly known as Terralog Technologies USA, Incorporated, for specialized expert assistance in developing the Terminal Island Renewable Energy Project. All terms and conditions remain in effect. The total cost ceiling for the contract also remains unchanged at $58,220,507. Mr. Tran, hello there.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Mr. Jordan, Dr. Campos, and Bureau Representative. My name is Alan Chuan with LA Sanitation. With me today is the Geo Environment Executive Member. Terminal Island Renewable Energy Project is known as the deep well injection. Basically, we inject the biosolid into the well, which is at 5,000 feet below the ground. Currently, we are injecting approximately 250 wet tons a day of biosolid, combined from both Hyperion and Terminal Island. This project started in 2006 and has been still considered as the long-term experimental project since EPA only grant a 5-year demonstration permit to the city, not a full operational permit. On September 28, 2015, the Board of Public Works authorized to execute Amendment Number 3 with term of 3 years with additional 2 terms, 1 year per term extension option. Now we would like to exercise the extension option. With exercise this option, it allows the city to continue injecting the biosolid, testing and reporting to EPA for an additional 2 years. It provides the city an additional site to use for the city biosolid program, and it helps to reduce emission by reducing transportation of the biosolid. Regarding the MBE, WBE, OBE participation, currently we are at 0.04% MBE and 20% of OBE. When it ends of the 2-year extension, the pledge percentage will be 0.02% MBE and 22.59% for OBE. The reason why we have such a small percentage of the MBE, this project requires specialized expertise for work on the deep well injection. The tasks include performing injection process, testing and monitoring the pressure at the well, and analyzing and reporting the result to EPA. Generally speaking, it limits the opportunity for the WBE, MBE subcontracting. Hauling biosolid from Hyperion to TI is the only opportunity for subcontracting, but it's not a part geo-environment scope of work. We have been using our existing biosolid contractor to do the hauling. So we are here today to request the board to approve and authorize the LSN to exercise the 2 terms, 1 year per term extension option in the amendment number 3. The scope of work and the contract ceiling cost of $58.2 million remain the same. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Just so the oral record's clear, Mr. Tran, on the extension, it's 2 one-year terms, so those are consecutive, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's consecutive, so we request you have 2 terms and 1 year for each term. The total is 2 years.
Right, total's 2 years, yeah. It's not two
1 year.
one-year terms on the same track.
No,
For 2 different contracts.
No.
So we're actually taking 2 one-year extensions and adding them.
Yes.
Got it. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. I just want to ask a question. Are we able to be able to do those, have 2 consecutive extensions at one time, Mr. Jordan?
Yeah, I'm not aware of a limitation as to why we cannot exercise both of those options at this time.
Okay. Just wanted to confirm that, and you will be having regular reports about the progress, Mr. Tran, right, regarding this project?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Jacinto, would you just repeat your question? I was on a sidebar comment
No
here.
problem. President Chapman, I just asked City Attorney Jordan if we were able to, by form, be able to do a consecutive 2-year extension instead of one, wait a year and do it again at the end of the year. Mr. Jordan was okay, stated it's fine with that.
Okay. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I appreciate the effort that we're at least focusing on and trying to achieve the best we can. And I also recognize that when we get to these subspecialties such as geo-environment technologies, that it's very difficult because of the lack of the available individuals that we have from the minority community in those areas. It makes it oftentimes difficult for us to achieve it. So just wanted to acknowledge and observe that we've certainly continued to reach out and make an effort towards this area, and I want to urge us to continue to do so in that. When we look at this 58, what is it, 50, how much is it, 58 million?
The total is $58.2 million.
Yeah, so when we see these big sums like that, we're probably not in the scheme of what we do, but when we see these dollars, it is always our goal to try to increase the inclusion, and even in the high technical areas. So again, I observe that you've certainly made an effort for that. It's very much appreciated, and I would move that we accept this motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, before we ask for a second, I'll call on Commissioner Garcia.
Hi, I have a couple of questions. Thank you, President James. I have a question. When did this pilot study start?
It started in 2006.
So we're 2 years in, about 2 years in?
It's about 12 years now.
2 years? 12 years. Oh,
12 years.
2006.
2006.
Oh, have we been updated with the study or the findings on this pilot program?
Every year, we submit to EPA quarterly report.
Okay, well, I think I would want to see some kind of, what have we learned from this pilot? It's been going on for what, 12 years, you're saying?
12 years.
Yeah, and it probably isn't a pilot program anymore, right?
Right now, it's still considered as the pilot study because EPA hasn't made any determination on the full operation permit yet.
Okay, well, I would want to see some kind of finding, or what have we learned throughout the past 12 years about this, and what were, what are the findings, and is it recommendable that we keep going or not?
Yes, sure. We can submit you the report.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, you can work with Dr. Campos on schedule, rather than just a report for Commissioner Garcia. I think you're talking about an oral report for the board, right? Yeah.
Yes, that would be helpful to understand, because it's $58.2 million already. I just want to know what we've learned from this.
Okay, I'll do that, yeah.
We'll set it up with Dr. Campos for an update. Mr. Jordan, you had any thoughts on that?
I'm interested in hearing too.
Oh,
I know a lot about the project, and it's, I think the board would be, it would be good for the board and the public to hear what they're doing down on that project.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tran. Anything further, Commissioner? Commissioner Davis made the motion, seconded by Commissioners Cabello and Commissioner Cento. Any objection? Without objection, you got your 2 years, sir. Any issues sending number 5 forthwith? We'll send
So you're
number 5
gonna
forthwith.
approve forthwith?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you're done.
And just want to confirm one thing, that we're gonna get 2 years, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, just as you asked. Thank you, sir. And you can work with Dr. Campos on scheduling the oral report.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah.
Agenda item number 6, a contract renewal, automated container systematic replacement program. Recommend the board exercise, this is a month-to-month renewal option for a maximum of 12 months to the contract, amendment number 5, with Rarig Pacific Company for the supply of automated containers and ancillary services beginning tomorrow, December 1, 2018. All terms and conditions remain in effect. The total cost ceiling also remains unchanged at the total cost ceiling at $241,375,206. Welcome back. Mr. Zari, and I'm assuming you're going to ask for forthwith, since the contract renewal would need to be tomorrow. But go ahead, sir.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, Attorney Jordan, Dr. Campos. My name is Jonathan Zari, representing LA Sanitation, and a big fan of college football, so go Sooners!
Oh, there we go. Yes. There's no need for a presentation, sir. We've confirmed your request, submitted forthwith. Go ahead.
Thank you,
It's good
sir.
that we have some excitement.
LA
Thank you.
Sanitation.
Thank you for the support.
Thanks. LA Sanitation provides a 3-stream automated curbside collection service to over 750,000 residential households for refuse, green, and recyclables. Each household is provided with a standard issuance of 3 containers, one 60-gallon black, one 90-gallon green, and one 90-gallon blue. Aside from the curbside residential collection, LA San also provides solid resources collection services to other city departments such as LAWA, Department of Water and Power, and Harbor Department, which require specialized containers. Also, we provide collection services to city council districts for the waste receptacle program, which requires automated litter bins or wire metal baskets for the collection of public waste. All of these containers are provided in this contract with the contract C102987 with Rarig Pacific Company, which will expire, like the President said, November 30 today, with an option to renew month to month for a maximum of 12 months. We are here today to ask to exercise this renewal option month to month while we are in the process of executing new contracts to replace this existing contract.
So as you said, Mr. Zari, we're in the process of going through the new contract procedure. So we're talking a few months. We're not more than a year away, right?
Not more than a year. It'll be about 6 months.
Okay, about 6 months or so. Commissioner Cento?
Thank you, President James. Jonathan, good to see you. Yes. You know, obviously we need to keep this program going. It's so important, curbside collection. I'll just say as a point of process administratively, we just don't want to get to the last day to present something to the board to saying, you have the choice. We have to do it. We have to keep the program going. We understand the rationale and justification, not arguing about that. I just want our bureaus to have a little bit more discipline to be able to get to us before the day of and ask us for the approval. So,
understood, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anything further? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 6, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 6. Any issue sitting number 6 forthwith? We'll send 6 forthwith. Thank you all. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Alex. Agenda item number 8 is our oral report on our monthly status of contracts expiring within 90 days. Dr. Campos, we have cleared the voting items, correct?
Voting items, yes.
Okay. We'll start with engineering. I see Shirley sitting right there on the front row, and Sherry's next, sitting in the 5th row. I was looking to see if you were here. Go ahead, Ms. Lau.
Good morning, Shirley Lau, Bureau of Engineering. Dr. Campos is passing out the memo. So I'm here to provide the status report of personal services contracts that are due to expire within 90 days from tomorrow, December 1st, 2018. There are 2 contracts, C123658 Geosyntech Consultants and C123659 with Tetra Tech Incorporated. These are the remaining contracts from a previous list of on-call consultant contracts to provide geotechnical and environmental engineering services for various public works projects on an as-needed and emergency basis. Ongoing work for these 2 contracts will be completed before they expire on February 19, 2019. The Bureau of Engineering did establish new on-call contracts last December with 11 firms that we are now using for the same type of geotechnical and environmental engineering services. So that concludes my report. If I can answer any questions, I'd be happy to.
Any questions for Ms. Lau? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Have a nice weekend. Sherry from Sanitation, welcome back. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners, Bureau Rep, City Attorney, Executive Officer, Sherry Kuoku with LA Sanitation. We have 5 contracts expiring. 3 of them will be renewed. The first one is with Rarick Pacific Company, and the board just adopted the renewal option containing that contract. The next one is with Myron Electric Construction Corporation, and Sanitation will be exercising the third and final one-year renewal option contained in that contract. And the board report is currently being finalized by the project manager and should be before the board very soon. After the 1 year, we do plan to distribute a new RFP for such services. And then the third one to be renewed is with Waste Management, El Cervante Landfill. And Sanitation intends to exercise the first 5-year renewal option contained in that contract. And the board report is also currently being prepared by the project manager. 2 contracts will not be renewed. First one is with IPS, Inflection Point Solutions. LA Sanitation will be executing a new contract with that same contractor. And the project manager is currently finalizing that contract and will be before the board soon. And the second is with Siege Tuam Hill. And that's for our sanitation automation projects. It's one of our previous on-call contracts for this program. The remaining portion of the work is just going to be transferring to another TOS under our new on-call list. That's it. Do you have any questions?
Commissioner Davis.
On the 2 contracts that will not be renewed, CH2M Hill, that project expired on the 31st. I guess that's today. And no, not today. That's next month. But it, after that, will have been completed?
No, actually, so I was informed by the project manager that the work under this contract is almost complete. So any remaining portions, so they actually this is the old on-call list that went back to 2007. We actually have a new on-call list that was executed a few years ago. That work would be transferred under a TOS with the same contractor that's part of that new on-call list.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anything further? Thank you, Sherry.
Great. Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
The oral report will be received. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Okay, then we are adjourned. No management meeting today, but we will do one next week. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend.